What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for September 5th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Thursday edition of the podcast, and Happy New Year to everyone out there celebrating. Yes, it is a new football season. Chiefs, Ravens tonight. And coincidentally, we've been celebrating the second anniversary of this podcast all week. And it all started 2 years ago on opening night of the NFL season. The Rams took on the Bills. I believe it was the Rams, defending champion Rams at that point. But September 8th, 2022, that is when we started. But it was on opening day. More on that as the week goes on, culminating with our anniversary special on Sunday. And just a reminder, we've been doing the promotion this week. If you call or text the Back to the Future voice and text line at 267-495-8531 and are a subscriber to the YouTube channel, you will be automatically entered into a drawing for a free Philly Goat t-shirt of your choice. Been getting a lot of great text submissions, not too many voicemails, so keep them coming. That's 267-495-8531 to enter your name into a drawing for a free Philly Goat t-shirt in honor of the second anniversary of this podcast, which started almost 2 years ago to the day, but it was on the opening day of the 2022 NFL season, and we all know how that season went for the Eagles. Hopefully we can carry that 2-year anniversary mojo into Brazil and carry us through the season. But be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel at Jimbo_Mott. Then call or text the Back to the Future voice line with anything you want, and that will enter you automatically into the drawing for the Philly Goat t-shirt. And then follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mott, Twitter and TikTok, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram. Again, spread the word that a lot of what we've done has been word of mouth, and we continue to grow. Like I said, it's been a busy few weeks for me, but once things die down from my day job, I have a lot of big things I'm exploring on the horizon, so stay tuned for that. That is the best way to stay in the loop, though, is to subscribe to the YouTube channel and win that free Philly Goat t-shirt by interacting with the Back to the Future voice and text line. And even if you don't win the drawing, go to phillygoat.com anyway. They have a wide selection of all your Philly sports needs. I can't even explain and do it justice, everything they have. So go check them out. And I know on WIP All Day, they're doing something to honor Hugh Douglas's son, who passed away a year ago today. Philly Goat has the Hugh Douglas collection, which you can also buy a t-shirt that helps support Hugh Douglas's, the Hugh T. Douglas Foundation. So go to phillygoat.com, spread the word, and use that promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. All right, so I guess a tale of two different, positives and negatives from the Phillies game yesterday. I guess the positive is they won. Christopher Sanchez looked better after he settled down after the first 2 innings. They talked about it on the broadcast. Apparently, JT came out, gave him some pointers, changed his delivery point, and he was lights out for the next 5 innings. Kyle Schwarber remains hot, went 2 for 3, led off the game with a homer, played a little bit of left field, made things a little bit interesting. I guess it was good to give Castellanos sort of the day off in the field, but man, I think that Kyle Schwarber makes Greg Luzinski look good out there. Hopefully that's not something we see anytime soon. I know a lot of people were upset about it, but hey, I mean, it is what it is. They won the game. But Bryce got nailed in the elbow, his back elbow, the one without the pad, and said he got treatment after the game, felt good. A lot of it was precautionary. We'll see, because it's the other elbow of the one that apparently has been sore. I'm anxious to see with Florida coming in. I would just give him a couple days off here, maybe even put him on the IL to rest up for when the games actually are going to start becoming crunch time and mean something. They did say that Bohm likely would have played if it were like a playoff game or like, I guess a more meaningful game for the Phillies. But I still would rather just have them rest these guys down the stretch because they're going to need them. So I don't know how serious the Bryce Harper injury is, but at this point, I don't want to say put him on bubble wrap, but set him down. Maybe not the IL, but set him down for 2 of the 4 games, maybe even 3 of the 4 games of this series. Let him rest. He's not going to do it. So it's going to come down to Topper or even Dombrowski coming down and saying, dude, you're sitting down because he's not going to take himself out. And say what you will about Bryce and hustling sometimes and not running out ground balls. The dude's a gamer. He's going to play unless he physically has broken bones in his body. So he's not going to do it. Somebody needs to just, dude, you're sitting down, take a couple days off. The issue is if you don't have Bohm, it kind of limits what you can do at first base. But it's a good, right now, it's good that we have the 7-game lead over the Braves right now, still 7.5 over the Mets. Both of those teams have been hot. Lots of games left with the Mets. I think the Mets are going to play a key role in whether or not we win the division. I have to say, historically, the Mets always met, but maybe this team's different. I don't know, but we have history on our side that the Mets are going to met. So I don't know if I'm concerned about them yet, especially since they haven't overtaken the Braves yet. I feel like they need to overtake the Braves by more than a half a game before I start becoming concerned with them. Now, I might eat these words in a couple weeks, and that's perfectly fine, but I know my Mets, and the Mets are going to Met. Milwaukee lost, and so did LA, so the lead over Milwaukee for the second seed is 2.5. Phillies are only a half game back of the Dodgers for that top seed, which the top seed doesn't really bother me. I feel, and it's still early for this, I feel as though as long as you get the bye and get the automatic into the divisional series, I think that's fine because depending on what happens, a lot of times that last wild card team has played very, very good baseball down the stretch to get in. So I'd almost rather have the second seed, but as long as I get the bye, we're fine. But they are in action tonight with a 4-game series coming up in Miami against the Marlins. Ranger Suarez looks to bounce back. Good team to do it against. Work some things out. But let's keep this train rolling and send whatever prayers or positive vibes you do that Bryce is able to heal up very quickly and not have this be a lingering thing heading into the bulk of September and into October. Eagles are in Brazil without Devin White. Apparently he's out with an ankle injury, and I don't know what to feel about this because all through camp and even into some of the preseason games, the thought process from the people that have been there every day, the beat writers and everything, were that Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean were the ones that were battling for that second spot behind Devin White, and both were doing well. And Nakobe Dean, even to a certain point, had a strong finish to camp. Didn't really hear much about Devin White, and that, to me, was concerning. I mean, if you're an offensive lineman, yeah, you don't want to hear anything. That means you're doing your job. But when you're the starting linebacker, you maybe make some plays. So I don't know how severe the injury is. I'm not accusing the Eagles of any shady and shenanigans, but it seems funny that this is coming out now. And is this a way that they want to see what Nakobe Dean can do next to Zach Bond and then make that decision? And hey, Devin, just stay here with the injury. I don't know. It just seems a little fishy that it just sort of came out of nowhere, especially when the reports were it was Dean and Bond playing well. I mean, from an experience standpoint, Bond has some experience, so you lose some of that experience that Devin White has with Nakobe Dean. But I don't know. Dean's been good in camp, and he's been saying the right things. I think this is a put up or shut up game season for him. And much like Jordan Davis, it's sort of like this is it, dude. You're either a bust or you're a legitimate player in this league. I think it's a good opportunity for him to show what he has. I think it also means it's a great opportunity for Jeremiah Trotter. And maybe we're all excited and want him to step into the shoes that his dad had. And it seemed as though in camp and even in preseason, like he had a nose for the ball and was making plays. Obviously, he's going to make some rookie mistakes. So I don't know. Again, from an experience standpoint, this is not good news for the Eagles. I'm not sure I'm hitting the panic button like a lot of people were on Twitter yesterday, because it's a good opportunity for Nakobe Dean. And if it's going to be his breakout year, listen, I feel at this point, it's his job now to lose. He goes down there and plays a great game tomorrow night. There's no way they're putting Devin White back in. If him and Zach Bond both play well, there's no way they're putting Devin White back in, nor should they. So I feel from that standpoint, the defense, there's going to be a lot of hungry guys out there looking to make plays, which I think will help. At the end of the day, it still comes down to the pass rush, though. It doesn't matter how good the secondary is. If they're not getting pressure on the quarterback, Jordan Love is going to have all day to throw. It is a good matchup for the Eagles' defensive line. Green Bay has a very similar situation at right guard that what the Eagles do. They have a young guy who's injured. They brought a guy in who's sort of like, So it should be the opportunities should be there for Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. Whether they can take advantage of it, again, just like Nakobe Dean. It's laid out almost on a silver platter for them. So hopefully they get it done. But it will, even that the pass rush and the defense, all will start with the offense. And, I mean, think about 2017 when they won the Super Bowl. Think about 2022 when they went back to the Super Bowl. In most of those games, or both of those seasons, I should say, they had a ton of sacks. They had a ton of pressure on the quarterback. But the thing that was missing from last year and those 2 years was the fact that the Eagles had big leads in those games. Back in 2017, they would jump out on teams early. 2022, they would jump out on teams early and build a 2-3 touchdown lead, make the defense or the offense, opposing offense, one-dimensional, and allowed those guys to tee off. So I think it comes down to the offense being good. And the big question with that is the blitz. And Sirianni talked about it yesterday. He said, we all know the blitz is coming based on what we did last year. We've worked so hard against the blitz. We're going to find success. I'm hoping so. And the last thing I'll say about the blitz, I'll do more of the pick and all that. I'm starting to get a clearer picture of what to expect tomorrow. But Kelsey on his podcast, New Heights, Travis brought it up to him and said, this is what they're saying. And Jason basically said, yeah, he's right. It was all on me. And he didn't feel comfortable because when we couldn't figure it out, he really was sort of at our mercy and didn't necessarily have the skills because, and I'm paraphrasing here, because it was on me. But he thinks him learning and taking control of that this year is a step in the right direction. And he said he's ready to take his game to the next level. Now, take that with a grain of salt because of the relationship that Kelsey still has with the Eagles. But I don't think Kelsey's the kind of guy to BS like that. So, I mean, if Kelsey said it. So I think it's a non-story. This year, if they can't handle the blitz, then we know it's 100% on Jalen, and then we get a clearer picture of it. So I'm not concerned yet. I know they're going to be blitzing a lot. I know they've worked on it a lot in practice with mixed results. But again, that was against your team in practice. So we'll see what happens. But I'm excited. Football is here. Happy New Year. But we'll have more on the Eagles tomorrow when we go through the preview of the Packers game. And, of course, we give you the picks. Hopefully we can be a little bit more successful than we were last year. We had a great 2022. But Last year, we kind of lost our butts a little bit. All right, Flyers open camp in exactly 1 week, so this is the best time. I know a lot of people talk about March Madness when baseball, and to me, this is the best time. Kickoff of football season, baseball playoffs, hockey, NBA is right around the corner too, MLS playoffs. So this is my favorite time of the year, and the weather gets cooler. And if you're a sweater like me, you love it when it's a little bit cool and crisp outside. It was nice going to the gym. It was like a crisp 52 degrees outside. The windows were a little steamed up. It was awesome. But Flyers open camp next week, and this is going to be an exciting year for the Flyers. Whether or not they make the playoffs or not, that still remains to be seen. But this is a big, big year for the Flyers. All right. We're going to go back today to 2015. And one of the greatest days, if you're watching on YouTube, you might know where I might be going with this. But one of the best days of my Temple football fandom ever happened on this day in 2015. Penn State came to Lincoln Financial Field and got completely beat down by my Temple Owls, 27-10. Coming into the game, it was the whole rivalry, if you'd even call it that, was all Penn State. Temple has only beaten Penn State up until that point had only beaten Penn State 3 times with 1 tie. The last win coming in 1941. The tie happened in 1950. And of course, Penn State jumped out early, 10-0, and it was like, here we go. Typical Temple versus Penn State. Typical slow Temple start. Because even when they started to turn it around without Golden, they would always play Villanova and struggle in that first game, sometimes even losing. It was just a hot mess. But after that first quarter, the defense for the Temple stepped up. They held Penn State to 9 first downs and 180 yards of total offense, sacked Christian Hackenberg 10 times, forced an interception. Jahad Thomas ran for 135 yards and 2 touchdowns, and it set the tone for the best season in Temple football history. I will go out on a limb and say that 2015 was by far their best season. Maybe not their most successful from a win-loss or bowl game perspective, but from just an overall, it was their best season ever. Coincidentally, on that Penn State team was a freshman running back who I think had 1 carry in that game by the name of Saquon Barkley. Temple would start that season, though, 7-0, become ranked for the first time since 1979. I remember how good it felt to see Temple in the AP Top 25. They got all the way up to 20 at some point right before the end of the season. If you remember, that was the college game day, came to Independence Hall when Notre Dame was here on Halloween. They finished the season 10-4, 7-1 in the American Athletic. They lost the conference championship game, lost their bowl game, and it's sort of like after that Notre Dame game, things started to kind of spiral, and we'll get more into that game in October. But they should have won that game. And again, I don't want to spend too much time on this because it was about finally beating Penn State. Every year, I would say Temple's going to shock the world and beat Penn State. Finally, in 2015, they did. I don't even think it was a shock either because they put a beat down on him. 10 sacks for that defense. They had Tyler Manikevich, Hassan Reddick. I'm trying to think who the other guy was on that team. I can't think of. I didn't put many notes down for this one because I get so fired up thinking about it. Because at the time, I was a week away from having my son. My wife was actually due. I thought I was going to have to watch this game in the hospital. The high point, really, of Temple football. They won the American Athletic Conference Championship the next year, and then Matt Rule left, and it's been sort of. They had a couple guys come in. And then really the Manny Diaz spurning them to go back to Miami is what really was the nail in the coffin, I guess, for this football team. But that leads me to the question of the day. If you were around my age, you know, early 90s through the late 90s into the early 2000s, Temple football was horrible. Absolutely horrible. Then came back and they had success. I mean, College Game Day came here. And there was a point in time during my time in college where I was like, there is no way Temple football will ever be relevant. I just was convinced of the fact we were one of those 3-11 teams or 3-9 whatever teams, and never were going to be successful. And then they brought in Al Golden. He turned it around. In this era of the NIL and transfer portals and all of that stuff, it's tough. And Temple has returned. I saw a ranking from I think it was The Athletic, had them the 135th ranked team out of 135 teams in college football. So we're back at rock bottom again. So my question to you, can Temple football ever turn it around again? I'm not so sure in the current landscape they can, but with some of the lawsuits and things going on, and the whole landscape is about to change, where it's going to be the big four conferences, and ultimately they're going to be like a minor league, semi-pro feeder system to the NFL. But do you think Temple football can turn it around? That is the question of the day. 267-495-8531. That is the Back to the Future voice and text line. Leave a message. Send me a text message. That's how you can qualify for the free Philly Goat shirt. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you want to complain about Temple athletics, you can do that. If you want to wax poetic and reminisce about the good old days, back when John Chaney had them as a national contender almost every year. If you want to talk about when Notre Dame came here and College Game Day was here, want to remember the time we beat Penn State, all of that is fair game, and it will qualify you for the Philly Goat shirt as long as you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Again, that number is 267-495-8531. But will Temple football ever become relevant again? That is the question of the day. I say not in this landscape. If things change and whatnot, there is a possibility. But currently, it's hard to see that, as they are ranked the 135th Division I school out of 135 or whatever the number was. Either way, they were last. All right. We continue our second anniversary week celebration. Yesterday, I asked you, who's the best second-round pick ever in Philly sports? It was a landslide. Bobby Clark, the best second-round pick in Philly sports history. Hard to argue that. One of the greatest ever play in the NFL. Won 2 Stanley Cups. Basically the face of the Flyers franchise. I saw a photo the other day. Apparently his pool in his backyard is shaped like the Flyers logo. So hard to argue with that. Thank you as always for participating in the question of the day. We'll have another one today, which is, will the Temple Owls football team ever become relevant again? So get that answer in. All right. Today, in honor of the Phillies, we're going to look at the Phillies' history in Game 2s. And spoiler alert, it's not been good. They're 9-20 all-time in playoff Game 2s. They did not win their first Game 2 until the World Series of 1980, when they won 6-4 at the Vet against Kansas City, meaning they lost in the 15 World Series. They lost in the 50 World Series, which that Game 2 in the 50 World Series was at Shibe Park. Coincidentally, it was the last World Series game played at Shibe Park. Even as good as they were in 76 through 78, they did not win Game 2 of any of those series, despite winning Game 1 in a couple of them. They lost the 80 NLCS to the Astros. They did win Game 2 of the 93 World Series. Almost blew it, though. They were up 5-0 and won it 6-4. We know what happened in 2007. The tide started to turn in 2008, though. One of the most memorable games in Phillies postseason history, the 2008 NLDS Game 2. Phillies won it 5-2. That was when Victorino hit the grand slam off of CC Sabathia, and Brett Myers had those 2 epic at-bats he just kept fouling balls off. They also won NLCS Game 2 that year, 8-5 over the Dodgers. Brett Myers went 3 for 3 in that game. So Brett Myers was a big Game 2 pitcher, if you want to put it that way. However, Game 2 was the only Game 2 they lost through that 08 playoff run in the World Series. And it was also the only World Series loss for them. that series against the Rays. They were successful in 2010, winning both game twos. We know how that NLCS ended. They obviously won the wild card in 2022. Aaron Nola won 2-0, ironically enough. They beat the Marlins last year. And then last year in the NLCS, it was sort of the high point for the offense when they won 10-0 over the D-backs to go up 2-0. Schwarber with 2 home runs. And really, at that point, we all thought we were going back to the World Series and winning it. But in honor of our second anniversary, that is a little bit on the Phillies' history in Game 2. The lesson here is, if the Phillies win Game 1, likely they're going to lose Game 2, but it does not mean they can't win series. But they're not good in Game 2, so historically, if you're going to be betting the Phillies in the playoffs, bet against them in Game 2, and then maybe you can do the reverse jinx where you lose your money, but the Phillies win, or if the Phillies lose, you win your money. Works for me. But a little bit of fun with the number 2, talking about the Phillies Game 2 history. They're 9-20 all time. Not very good, but one of the most memorable games in Phillies postseason history was Game 2 of the 2008 NLDS. That was when Victorino hit the grand slam off of Sabathia, and Brett Myers had that epic 20 pitch or whatever it was at bat against CC as well. On this day in 2015, Temple beat Penn State 2017. The defense sacked Christian Hackenberg 10 times. This was James Franklin's second year at Penn State. It was the high point of my Temple fandom. It's the one game I always wanted was for them to beat Penn State, and I got it in 2015 down at Lincoln Financial Field, and then it was all sort of downhill for, well, I shouldn't say that. The rest of the season was pretty successful, but after 2015, it's kind of been all downhill for Temple since then. But the question of the day, will they ever be back to being relevant? 267-495-8531. That'll get you in. Remember, interact with the Back to the Future voice and text line and be a subscriber to the YouTube channel to get entered into that drawing for a free Philly Goat t-shirt. We'll have more on the Eagles-Packers tomorrow, including our picks. Bet at your own risk. Did not have a good season betting with or against the Eagles last year. So buyer beware. But let me know your thoughts. Is the Devin White thing a bigger deal than what I'm thinking? Or is there more to the story? We'll see. Bryce, take a day off, dude. Just take a day off. You got the Miami Marlins coming we're going to Miami for 4 games. Just take the day off, man. Take the day off. Rest that arm. Let's whittle that magic number down. I would love to start giving the magic number update on Monday. We're close. I told you it was the 15 was my magic number. My magic number for the magic number. And I think we're at like 17 right now. So we're close. We'd love to kick that off on Monday. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. All that other good stuff. But Happy New Year. Happy New Year to everyone. Be sure to check out, if you want to celebrate the new year, check out my boys at the Clashing Conferences podcast. New football episode dropped today as they preview the 2024 season for the NFC East. Should be a good episode. Have not watched it yet, but it's a great way to start your Happy New Year football fix. That's available wherever you get your podcasts as well as on YouTube. Clashing Conferences podcast. Happy New Year. Enjoy the game tonight. I got the Ravens plus 3 points. I think they come in here. I think they can win it outright. Again, buyer beware. But I think they're coming in. They're hungry. Take the Ravens plus the points tonight. I don't mind the underplay in this either. But take the Ravens plus the points. Happy New Year. Go have yourselves a Thursday. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for September 5th, 2024. My name is Jim Montgomery, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.